side here. This is the box that my friend at work asked me to make. She gave me this picture, and I'm gonna try to make it. Welcome to Summers Woodworking. I have this big old piece of walnut, and a bunch of pieces have been cut out of it already, and it's been glued together, but it's really nice because it has dark and has light. And so I maybe can use that for her box where it's lighter in here. Or maybe I'll use a whole different wood. I'm not sure yet. But I think that I can just cut this for the sides and make that work. I cut out all that walnut for the box. And then I glued together the bottom of the box. I made sure it was all square and everything. This is going to be the top side, and then I cut out some walnut for the picture frame that goes around that middle piece, which I decided to do in this piece of maple. This is what she wants on it. It's just like the drawing. It's called a sugar skull, I guess. Anyway, this is the one she wants. So she sent me this picture, and I put it on this piece of wood, and I'm going to try to burn it in there. I've learned with this rubbing technique that you really have to put some pressure onto the black along with the heat to get that image to come off nice and crisp. And I also learned from Brian Kidney from Summers Woodworking that once it's hot, just burn off a little bit of that heat by touching a different piece of wood so it doesn't burn your actual transferred project. Well, I'm not big into the skull thing, but it turned out. I didn't use this when I glued the bottom side of the box. So I thought I would try it out for the top side of the box, and it seemed to work out pretty well. I just had to keep making sure that I had my little square in there because it would shift. It was pretty easy to use, and I liked that you could glue all 4 of the corners at one time. According to this, it's square. Yay! Let's see if it fits on top. When I had them numbered. That. Okay. Awesome. I sanded the 4 walnut pieces that were the picture frame around the skull. And then I glued them into place. I clamped them into place, and then I just kept on clamping and clamping and clamping. I found some cedar. Smells really good. So I lined the bottom of the box, and then I made a design around the edges. I glued the bottom in place, and then I glued that edge design into place. It's all dry in there. Cedar. I was pretty unhappy with the way it looked. I'll have to fill in these gaps. I don't know what that red stuff is. I sanded off the red stuff, still never figured out what it was. Came right off though. And then I looked at the damage with the gaps. I need to make a bunch of walnut dust so that I can make a little of the goo, you know, to fit in there. That really worked. That was with 80 grit sandpaper. 80 grit. I mixed the walnut dust with super glue, made some little wooden fillings, and then just filled in those gaps and was hoping that it would look okay. see if that works. I changed this to 100 grit sandpaper. Hey, that's not too shabby. Those wood fillings turned out pretty good. So I sanded that with the 150 and then the 220 to get it ready to put the skull inside of it. I slipped it in there to see how it's going to look. I like it. Put in some glue where the skull is going to set, and then put the skull in place, and then clamped it with a few gazillion clamps. Well, I only used 4 this time. I pulled all the clamps off, and then took a good look at it, and I like it. Then I cut a piece of cedar to go behind that skull, and then glued it into place. And I didn't need to use any clamps this time. I removed the weight, and then I cleaned it up by doing some final sanding. Okay, I'd like to put my size corner on there, and with a sunshine. Ooh, I like it. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I found some hardware that I like. And so I think I'm going to attach the hardware and then take it off again to put the stain on, or whatever I'm going to put on it. I marked all the spots for the hinges and then applied the hinges. Then I marked the spot for the clasp on the front and I placed the clasp. Okay, got all the hardware on the box. Got clasp there and those there, and I think I like it. Kind of matches with the skull, I think. So I'm going to take all that hardware off again and use some stuff on it. Okay, I'm going to be applying this Danish oil, which husband really likes. I was hoping to have a satin type finish, and it really turned out that way, unlike the tung oil or the polyurethane that does like a glossy finish. This was the feel I wanted with this box. So I was really happy with the Danish oil. Let those dry. Finished product, the box. So it's relatively square, and I really like how the cedar turned out, and the maple, and the walnut. I like it all, and I think these clasps kind of match with the skull look, and then it opens like so to the inside. So she wanted just a box, simple box. So I think that's a pretty simple box. So thanks for joining me again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.